And that jarring cacophony tells you you're back yet again with the Power of Three podcast, travelling through time, space and...
my living room.
And yeah, we actually are in my esteemed colleague's living room. I'm Kenny Smith.
And I'm David Steele. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. It's lovely to be here. Just getting all the gossip from Kenny, who was at Hooverville yesterday. Did you have a good day?
I had a great day, apart from, of course, my infamous moment now, which has been commented on social media, when I was interviewing Jacqueline King, and I jumped up onto the stage, but the tip of my trainer caught the edge of the stage and I did a tumble, but I rolled and styled it out.
This is what happens when you have size 18 feet, listeners. So you interviewed Jacqueline King. What was she saying?
Oh, she's great. Just lots of loveliness. She's just genuinely one of the most lovely people in the world ever. And well, her dad's from Glasgow, and her mum's from the Highlands.
Well, that'll do. We'll have to get her back on at some point properly then, eh?
Yeah, most definitely. But yes, lots of chat.
Who else was kicking about? Who did you see that might be friends of the podcast?
Well, I did see some friends of the podcast. I saw Paul Mars and Mark Morris. I got to host a book panel with them.
Right, cool.
And
was it just those two, or was it anyone else?
No, there was Nick Wallace, who wrote the Missing Adventure, or it's not Missing Adventures, the PDA, Fear Itself, which was the 8th Doctor book published after the end. Of course. And Nick was lovely. It's the first time I'd met him in person, having spoken for Pieces of 8th.
And Fear Itself, of course, was the name of that wonderful Marvel crossover from circa 2012, I think, probably. Anyway.
But other people who were there, Jo Martin, got to meet her, shook her hand.
Of course.
She was very nice, because she'd worked with Jax previously in one of the Fugitive Doctors. Jax had played the Baba Yaga, the mythological character.
Right.
And so yes, and Jax got me involved in the conversation with her, because Jo was still jet lagged from having been at a convention in America last weekend.
Right.
And Jax got me involved in the conversation, which was really nice. She introduced me and said, "This is Kenny, he's lovely," so I cannot complain at that.
Another doctor.
Indeed, another one that I've met. So yeah, I'm ticking them off one by one.
Good.
Didn't do any interviews with her, but she was quite knackered, so I just sort of left her. But I did have a quick chat, and we were just talking about life, the universe, and everything. Or universes, if you prefer. Who else was there? Oh, I got to meet Brian Hodgson.
Right.
And,
amazing.
He was lovely. He lives in Norwichshire, as does Terry Malloy, who was also there.
Cool.
Terry was great. Really good fun. Lovely to see him. I interviewed him at an event in Edinburgh. It must be around 2000, but organised by a friend, Martin Rogerson.
Okay.
And Matthew Waterhouse was there, of course. Matthew's always there. He's brilliant. And interviewed by our pal Robert Dick.
Cool.
And then went round the dealer's room, which was lovely, got a few things, picked up some Black Archives.
Yeah, and Andrew Mark was there as well, wasn't he?
He was indeed, yep. And Steve Hatcher, who organised it.
Yep.
Brilliant, Steve. So yes, I saw friends over at Obverse Books. Stuart Douglas was there, and got myself 3 printed versions, which was lovely. And also...
Which ones? Which stories?
I got Heaven Sent and Hellbent.
Right.
And I also got The Devil's Cord, which is the newest one, which we have discussed in the podcast. Excellent. Or will discuss, I can't remember. It's all timey-wimey.
And was there anyone else who's grown up a ridiculous comedy beard?
Well, there was David J. Howe and his wife Samantha J. Howe. And also there were Keith Barnfather. But there was, comedy beard. Oh, you're talking about Will Brooks.
Will Brooks.
Remember him?
Yes, God bless him. He's long overdue a return visit.
Well, funnily enough, we were discussing that.
Excellent.
So,
good.
Yes, that will be happening before long on 2 different reasons.
Excellent.
So, yes, but all in all, a great weekend.
Good.
And
I'm glad.
I'm gutted you missed it, but...
Yeah, I know we talked about it loosely, but it was just, I can't remember what my reasoning was. I think it's just because I've had a lot of E2 prep to do recently, which is quite exhausting, and my brain just needs rinsed. I am sick of the sight of Superman and Spider-Man as drawn by Ross Andrew. So maybe I've said to Kenny to nag me and to remind me and to nudge me repeatedly between now and the next one. So I really should go.
The most surreal moment was when I was sitting in the bar area chatting with Heather Challenge from Big Finish. She lives quite locally. Hi Heather, if you're listening. And we were having a natter, and then a lady came up and said, "Excuse me, but would you sign my book?" And I thought she must have been talking to Heather at first, because obviously Heather being a Big Finish type person, and producer. But no, she was asking me to sign her book.
Yes,
it was a book called Pets in Time. I contributed a section on it. It must have been 5 years ago.
Okay.
And it was all about asking various sort of people involved in Doctor Who and Doctor Who fandom and things like that. And because of my job with Vortex, I was asked if I'd contribute. Mm-hmm. So I wrote a section about my cat Shearer.
Right.
And a lady called Alison, hi Alison if you're listening, came up and asked me if I would sign my particular section.
Good. Fame at last.
It was lovely, so I signed it to Alison.
Good.
Meow. And after my name. So
Amazing.
Yeah, I actually thought something better.
You absolute fame whore.
I should have signed it Walking in a Shearer Wonderland, because he was named after former Aberdeen striker Duncan Shearer. But
Interesting.
yeah.
Give us some Duncan Shearer stats then.
Duncan Shearer scored in his debut 2 goals against Hibs in August 1992 and went on to be Aberdeen's, I think it's pretty much Aberdeen's top scorer of the 1990s.
Excellent.
As he was just an absolute goal machine until Roy Aitken bombed him out. He usually wore the shirt number 10, then Billy Dodds signed and he was given the number 8 shirt instead.
I see.
There you go.
Where did he go after Aberdeen?
After he left Aberdeen, he went to Inverness Caledonian Thistle. His career started at Chelsea, where he made 1 appearance, didn't score. Then he moved to Swindon Town, and he was there for several years and had a good career there. And when he was at Aberdeen, he won 7 Scotland caps and scored 2 goals.
Wonderful. There we go.
My God.
Stato. So, after that catch up, which is probably by the time you release this episode, might be a couple of weeks out of date, but who cares?
It could be a bonus episode.
Listeners, were you at Hooverville? Please write to the earth2podcast@gmail.com with your experiences and your thoughts on Kenny's stunt work, and Peter will be incredibly happy to print it out and fax it over to Kenny at his office. That would be lovely.
That would be fantastic. Thank you very much. Remember, that's the Earth2 podcast with the number 2 at gmail.com.
Yes,
and it's always the number 2 in all our... Oh no, hang on.
Yes.
That's somebody else's podcast.
Yes. Hi, Peter, if you're listening.
So yes, Dave, why are we here today?
I can't remember.
Well,
wait a minute, I can. Their Big Finish, in their infinite wisdom, are expanding further their range of lost stories, i.e. stories which were prepared for the original TV series, but then for whatever reason didn't go ahead. And there is a new one being released, or may have been released by the time I have this conversation, featuring the 7th Doctor.
Indeed, we're talking about Alixion by Robin Mukherjee. And my goodness, what a great chat we've got with him coming up shortly. But before we do that and discuss the other 7th Doctor missing stories, shall we have the trailer for Alixion?
Oh, that's an excellent idea. Yes, please.
What have you got there?
Just some holiday brochures.
Where did you get them?
From Big Finish Productions, Doctor Who, The Lost Stories, Alixion.
Rediscover your inner harmony.
Seriously?
Once the site of an ancient abbey, the fabled moon of Alixion offers peace,
My name is Matilda. I'll be your host for the duration of your stay.
serenity,
What a place. Oh, it's so lovely.
and fine dining.
We have a feast before us.
What?
You have to leave. You have to get out of here.
Can you hear that?
It's the Beatles.
My mum was crazy about them.
These beetles rub their wings together. That's how they communicate.
They were on this moon before the humans arrived and founded the Abbey. Refugees from one of the great lunar purges.
2 cheerful adventurers. She's not safe. What's that? That sound.
Stupid little box of tricks.
Let go, you bug! Get off me!
A stupid little box. Find it.
Big Finish, for the love of stories.
So we go, Dave, what did you think of these lost stories, the ones that we've previously had? We've had 4 already.
So, yeah, I mean, I think compared to some of the Doctors, there haven't been as many 7th Doctor ones. It's very interesting. I suppose it shows that Cartmel and Ginty had their eyes on the prize and were quite focused and didn't want to waste any time. I think compared to some other eras where there's been quite a few. I remember, I didn't listen to them immediately as they came out. It was probably a year or 2 afterwards, during part of my enormous Big Finish catch-up period between sort of 2014 and 2018. I would have listened to them then. My overall memory of them was... My favourite thing on a Big Finish story is if I can describe it as authentic. Sometimes I think they maybe go a little bit outside the scope and scale of an old story, but if the regular cast are on the ball, it doesn't really matter too much. But these ones all felt incredibly authentic, and I've a very, very clear memory of, because I quite often I'll stick a Big Finish on when I'm going to do the shopping or going for a walk or whatever. I remember listening to Earth Aid and genuinely, and this is not hyperbole, feeling like I'd been transported. It was like I'd gone back, nearly 30 years at that point or whatever. It just felt so... It felt so 1990, it was unbelievable. There were 4 stories, as you say. The first one was called Thin Ice, written by Mark Platt. I think that's the one that sent me the most. Well, not sent me, but it's definitely gave me that joyous nostalgia feeling. Then it was Crime of the Century, written by Andrew Cartmel, which was the famous one that Andrew talked about for ages, about how he had a plan for a new companion who was the Doctor was going to find, who was going to break into a big... a big fancy party in a big house, and then crack open the safe and the Doctor was going to be inside, and he talked about this for years, so this was Big Finish finally bringing that one to life. Then Andrew returned to write Animal, and then there was Earth Aid by Andrew and friend of the show Ben Aranovich.
Indeed.
And they were all marvellous. I remember just sort of feeling like it kind of scratched an itch in a way. I really enjoyed these stories. I'll be honest, I think some of the Lost stories, the quality production's never bad, but sometimes I think, some of them are definitely better than others, but these all felt incredibly, as I keep saying, authentic and very, very strong.
Yeah, I think some stories were lost for a reason, but it's still interesting to have them nonetheless. I think that it's a fantastic casting with Rain Creevy being played by Beth Chalmers, who's half Scottish on her father's side. Originally up from Dundee, there you go.
I have been to Dundee 3 times in my life. I think twice of those were deliberate.
Oh, there you go. But no, I think these, as you say, they're just so absolutely right. The music's done in that Keith McCulloch kind of style, and the fact that Ace remains, because I remember being surprised when first listening to them, and at the end of Crime of the Century, Ace is actually still there. In fact, at the end of Thin Ice, Ace doesn't leave, because I'd assumed that she was going to, but Andrew changed his mind, because originally they would have in TV written her out and replaced her with Rain, but because he enjoyed what was going on, kept her in.
Yeah, because I remember Andrew in the past talking at length how Ace was going to be seen sort of flying a Starship Enterprise style vehicle and going into the ready room and saying, "Professor, this isn't working," something like that. It's weird how so many of these things sort of like just become lodged in your head from reading them in interviews or seeing them being talked about. But yeah, I mean, it was good having Beth in, because Beth's done a lot of stuff for BF over the years, so it was nice to kind of had Unit Dominion come out before these?
No, Unit Dominion came out later.
Right, okay. Take that back. And of course, she came back in Unit Dominion.
She did indeed,
which features my pal Julian Dutton as Colonel Lafayette, so hi Jules if you're listening.
We should do a special appreciation of Unit Dominion, because I think it's a great series.
Oh yeah, Hello You.
Oh,
and all that.
We could maybe ask Alex as well.
Yeah, we could. Anyway,
sorry.
That's another conversation.
For another day, but I think these ones were great. I mean, I think Thin Ice is a really good opener. The fact we've got Ice Warriors back and they're eating fish fingers, I think that's just so ridiculous, but it's quite funny. Then Crime of the Century, as you say, we've got that fantastic opening, and do you know what? I haven't listened to it in ages, really should go back to it.
And then Animal. And then your pal comes back in the next one.
Yes, Angela Bruce. The lovely Angela Bruce is back for Animal. And I remember there's that brilliant line of, "You will come to no harm, assure the aliens." And my goodness, yes, they did keep their word. And then it absolutely concludes with Earth Aid, which is...
Earth Aid, yeah, which I remember being very good, and looking at the back of the CD cover, featuring Ingrid Oliver in the cast list.
Yes,
that's quite interesting.
A pre-unit Ingrid Oliver, so...
Interesting.
Yeah, that was something when I interviewed her when she was at one of the Comic Cons in Glasgow, and because she knew the Big Finish people, it was a very easy yes to sign up. I think she'd done a couple of other ones previously as well.
Right.
She might have been in the Florence Nightingale one as well, off the top of my head. I could be wrong.
Oh, right, yeah, I remember that one.
But she's very, very good. And overall, I thought it was such a good series, a really good set 4. And the covers are all glorious too.
The Lost Stories at this early sort of stage have that sort of a design on a white background, sort of thing, quite uniform, sort of differentiating them from the main range and everything else. They're quite striking, they're very effective, very simple, very straightforward, but also they've got a bit of an echo of what you can imagine Alistair Pearson doing for the covers of the novelisations. They're very nice. It's a shame that the new one won't match the same cover design, but stuff happens.
It is a lovely cover.
Such is life.
I've seen a couple of fan-made ones online to try and sort of match the style.
Oh, really?
So
good.
It's good to do. But yeah, I'm really... this is one of those ones, because those all sprang from Dave Owen's piece in Doctor Who magazine many years ago, looking at what would have happened next, because I think there was also... David McEntee had an idea for a script in there that had been considered, and there's a couple of others.
I remember the feature very well, because that was the one where there were sort of mocked up video covers of Richard Griffiths as the Doctor, because that's who was loosely being discussed as replacing Sylvester, and there was an image of Kate as the Rani coming back.
Yeah,
because that had been discussed. Yeah, I remember. God, there was a period, listeners, honestly, in the 90s when it felt DWM and the books and all that were so good. We felt we didn't really need a TV series.
Yeah,
it's a fact. It's crazy to say it now, but the second half of the 90s, it wasn't that bad.
No, I mean, it's just Doctor Who magazine, just packed full of thought-provoking, insightful articles, that really got the juices flowing.
Yeah.
And you were desperate for each issue to come out.
Exactly. I mean, really, really solid stuff from folk that knew what they were talking about. It was brilliant. It was an absolute sort of it's probably my peak. No, actually, because the first two, because then Clayton took over in the early 2000s, and it was consistently amazing then as well. God, honestly, for all the talk about the wilderness years, kids, young listeners, etc., younger listeners, the period between a TV movie and Rose, it wasn't the barren famine that everyone thinks that it was, that wasn't around. It was all right,
Yeah, there was creativity because you got good, clever people analysing Doctor Who, giving proper insight.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the DWM letters page was a hotbed of debate. I mean, this was before the days where people would send in a drawing of K9 or whatever. And
or indeed after the days when people because that's what they used to do in the weekly. No, it was always and the books were doing a good job across Virgin and BBC of tying everything together, and there was a lot of really good stuff happening in fanzines as well. We're straying from the point, but yes, the late 90s and early 2000s, it was fine, we coped, which bodes well if we're heading for another wilderness period. We'll be all right, don't worry everyone, we'll be okay.
Yeah, keep calm and carry on.
Absolutely. So before we speak to Robin, Kenny's going to give us the cover blurb from the new CD.
Indeed I am. Checking into a luxury health spa for a little rest and recreation, the Doctor and Ace find themselves at the mercy of a malign entity that craves the conquest of time and space. Exploiting their memories and regrets, the Queen of the Hive, which hides behind the polished walls of the spa, forces them to confront their deepest fears as she steals the Doctor's life force to spread her powers across the universe.
Gasp. Well, we better have Robin tell us a bit more about it.
So, back in the day, how did it all come about? How did Andrew Cartmel first get to hear about your work?
Through the BBC Script Unit, which was based in North Acton at that time and run by somebody called Tony Dinner. So we were both mentees, I think, of Tony, or may have been other members of the team of the Script Unit. But there came a point when it was decided to have a workshop. I claimed the idea because I think Tony one day said to me, "What else can we do for you?" Because what they did was read our work, which is fantastic, and comment and encourage. And I said it would be nice to meet some of the other writers. And then we did, and it included Andrew. There's some others, and it was slightly amorphous. People would come and go, but Andrew was the sort of more experienced writer. I was very much in awe of him, but he's such a lovely person. I did a few theatre pieces, and he read them. I think we workshopped them in the group, and I think he came to see one of them, or at least he read the script. And so he knew of my work, he knew of my progress. I'd had a radio commission, and then he became script editor of Doctor Who, of course, as you know, and proposed to, I don't know what the ins and outs of it were, but I think John Nathan Turner was looking for some fresh blood, really, some new writers, and Andrew ventured some of the members of that group. It was a strong cohort. I mean, we were all selected. I mean, after that, so it's not like we were random people who wandered it off the street. So we all, I think somebody recognised our potential, and Andrew felt that it would be A, great to work with us, and B, we could bring something to the show. So I think I was probably the most, in terms of experience, the least experience in writing for the screen. Theatre, I'm very much concentrated on theatre. And so I was given that next series, or famously, as we know, the one that was axed. So I didn't get to write immediately, but my proposal was accepted, and the outline had been commissioned, and we were just working on that really when the axe came down.
That must have been a real frustration, given that it's one of the most popular BBC brands and most well known. You're thinking, oh, here's a chance to work on something that will be seen pretty much the world over as well.
The grandeur of that gets strangely obscured by the fact of simply working on it, of going in and talking story. If you thought about all the people who are going to watch it and the legacy that it may leave, I don't think you'd write a word. You'd be so freaked out by that. one just concentrates on getting it right, getting that story right. But that's true. There's a couple of aspects to it. The first being what effect it had on me personally, and it was very disappointing. And I was excited to be on the show, absolutely, and really enjoyed the show. I was a Doctor Who fan, so it fitted, and we were all nutty about it, and it just felt like a good thing from every position that you could look on it. And then there's the other factor, which is the politics of why it was cancelled. But personally, it was, I won't say a bitter blow, but it did feel like a setback and an opportunity that I regret not having been able to do. It would have been great. It would be really, really nice.
Because you went on to have a career, because obviously I recognise your name because I was a bit of a Casualty diehard back in the day and watching all these other shows, so I recognised your name. And then when it was like Alixion was mentioned in Doctor Who magazine, and like, oh, there we go. So I recognised that. And then I'm one of these people who loves to read TV credits.
Well, thank you. It's so nice. And they used to put Casualty, the name of the writer, at the beginning and the end. That was Geraint Morris, I think, who did that. So it was like, and it, just to remind everybody that there is a writer at work here, which I think was great. It was it was only 20 episodes a year, I think. It certainly wasn't that year-round thing, that the perennial that it has become. Although I've written subsequently for it when it's become more long-running. But there was a sense that it was a limited series, and every episode always counts, but the focus on that was significant. But of course it was Andrew who went from Doctor Who to Casualty and took several of us with him. So Ben Aronovich, I think Ian Briggs as well went across. Kevin Clark went across, although Kevin was rotating more in his own orbit. He was, because he'd done some really good stuff up to that point, and wasn't quite as new as certainly I was. A lot of the Doctor Who they transferred to Casualty, and I think probably brought something to bear upon it outside of time travel.
Yeah, because you've gone on, you had a good career, recognised TV writer and theatre writer, and then, of course, you must have been slightly surprised to get a message from out of the blue from Big Finish saying, "Hello, do you still have anything about Alixion?"
I've been occasionally haunted by odd emails from people who want information about it from various sources, fanzines and websites, and pretending to be journalists and all the rest of it. So I was aware of it as an extant thing, that Alixion existed in a sort of limbo, it had a sort of half-life in a sense, and was part of Doctor Who mythology. And I think somebody gave me a Doctor Who book which included it. There's a little section on the Lost Ark, and I was always tickled by that, I have to say, because I continue to love the show. I continue to watch Doctor Who, and the recurrence of Doctor Who as a series, with Christopher Eccleston, when that came back, just coincided with my daughter being the perfect age for us to sit there, with our cups of tea, watching and enjoy. That's fantastic. So the link was there, but the call was a surprise. I had not seen that coming, and it was an offer. It was really, do you mind if we do it? And would you be interested in doing it yourself? So it was a double-barreled offer, really. I mean, and the answer was no and yes, I guess. But when I said yes, there was a sense of. I have subsequently joked a couple of times that I sent an idea to the BBC in in 1989. They finally got back to me. I like to put it like that. But there was a sense of, I had thought about that, like I had really thought about that story. And I can remember having index cards all over a table, trying to wrestle with the logistics of the narrative. And we talked Sylvester and Sophie and about them, and we talked about different stories. So it was, I didn't realise it was still so much in my psyche. And it was like, yep, you can now exist.
So how much of the original still existed? I take it you're somebody who keeps his files meticulously.
Yeah, but I had no access to, I have no idea where the original files are. I've moved a few times. I have a lot of boxes. Our attic now has got completely log jammed. I've got a bit of a bad back, and I thought of getting in there and trying to move suitcases and old bits of furniture in order to find the box with the file, probably because it was so long ago, right at the bottom, probably not labeled. I know, but what I had was as writers, you keep certain things from everything that you work on. You think you've forgotten it, and then you go back to it, and it's like a little kind of internal filing system. I'd made notes subsequently when somebody asked me about it, and I'd sort of tried to remember what the story was and looked at that. There were also things I knew that hadn't been working yet. There are some things we hadn't quite cracked. And for example, the character of one of the guys, on Alixion, on the moon, that we had this idea of him being like a master of ceremonies and quite exuberant and clownish, and we were toying with that. So I still remember the fact that we were still wrestling with ideas, and of course he's not exuberant and clownish at all, because he has a sinister streak to him that I think comes out better, and possibly just is in a more contemporary way, comes out as someone who just appears to be completely normal. And so there's no indication that there's anything perverse there in his psyche. So, there were story issues. It's like going back to an itch you had, a 40-year itch, and going, actually, now I know how to solve that problem. I'm sure he would have. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure he would have solved it had the office remained open and the visits to Shepherd's Bush had continued. But it was lovely to go back to them and I hope resolve them. But yeah, so there's not a huge amount of paper on it. It was probably only a couple of sheets of A4 typed on a typewriter and a load of index cards.
So how would you sum up the story for those who don't know without any spoilers?
Without spoilers, well, it's set on a health spa on a moon, and after an abysmal adventure, one of those that just goes horribly wrong, the doctor says, well, I think we could do with a bit of a rest. And Ace, who would normally go, what? Give me fun, give me. She's like, yeah, okay. I think that'll do. I think we just need to chill a bit. And they go to this health spa, and it's famed for an elixir that throughout the galaxy that's got rejuvenating properties. And what's not to like, really, except that it tastes disgusting. And the doctor won't drink it. And we begin to realize there's more going on. And there's a fellow there who reveals himself. He's noticed that the doctor isn't drinking. And he instantly spots, if you like, an interloper, somebody who's not there. Because the doctor keeps his eyes open. And this guy keeps his, and they've clocked each other. And so the guy decides to take a chance and confide in the doctor that he's actually here to find his daughter, who came to this place and was never seen again, never came home. And she would have, because she lost her mother ages ago. They were really close. And you begin to realize that there's something, something in the woodwork here. Yeah, that's it. Is that good enough?
That's good. Yes, no, that's good. That's got me hooked. That's got me interested. It must have been a real pleasure for you to finally get to, almost like close the circle when it came to this.
Oh, it was so much fun. I mean, I will say it was an indescribable joy. Well, partly because of the closure of the circle and completing that story. because all your stories, even the ones that never get made, are like your little children, really. You know, I've got all these orphaned things, but also just to go into that world, the world of, in a way, infinite possibility, but the strange logic of Doctor Who, because it's quite precise. It's not just anything goes. It's not farce. It's not absurdism. It's really operates according to very sort of fine strings of plausibility. And yet, once you learn how to tune them and how to play them, then you can do anything. But it has to be consistent with the Doctor Who universe. And I just thought that's such fun to do. So irrespective of it being not an old idea, but an unfulfilled idea, it was just fun to do.
Yeah. Did you get to listen into the recordings or go along?
I did, yes. I was there for the 2 days. I mean, I just thought, I've got to do this. And I'm so pleased I did, because first of all, they do it brilliantly. And you know, the writer's sitting there, and there's a certain amount of preciousness, but also a huge amount of trust in the crew and the cast. And they do a read through, you know, of the scene, and I'm thinking, oh my God, they've completely missed it, you know. And then David gives a few notes, and I realise they're just getting the sound of it. They're just finding out what the parameters of that scene are. David gives a few notes, and I think he's really got it. And then they just get it, and it's marvellous. They're so good. And I got to do a little cameo as well.
Oh, lovely.
Although I think it will be lost in the edit. But what a dream come true. That the cameo, which will probably be lost in the edit, is me and Sylvester. Isn't that great? And I played an old geezer, sort of rude old geezer, sort of called him a flipping idiot. I couldn't have wished for anything better, but they were so nice. I mean, they're so nice to be with. The crew was absolutely, as I say, spot on. And of course, Sophie and Sylvester and all the other guys. I mean, the Beverly and the other members of the cast were just so professional and just so nice. It was a good experience, really, really pleasant.
Yeah, Sylvester and Sophie are just fantastic. They've still got that wonderful just that wonderful relationship that they have. The banter is lovely, and we might all be a few years older, but they're still great pals. And as you mentioned, David O'Mahony is brilliant. He's a pal of mine, and just absolutely, he cares so much about it, wants to get it right.
Has he worked in theatre? Or
he has, yes.
I wondered, because he has such a grasp of text. You really feel that sense that he's entered into it and understood it and looked at the different options within the line.
Yeah.
I mean, I've written quite a lot of television. Sometimes television, you have to be quite contained in what the line offers, because they're not going to rehearse it. They're just going to get in there on the set and bang it out. 3 takes, you're done. But with the radio, I just feel there is more room for the sort of sense of theatre, that there's different nuances that the different energies can bring to that moment, and you just seem to understand that, get that, and know how to open those possibilities up to the actors who can then play with it. I just thought it was great.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing it, as will you, no doubt, to get that final download or CD through the post.
That's got to be something. I'm teaching some MA students at Bath Spa University near here, and quite a few of them are Doctor Who fans. And so when I intimated, because I keep the secrecy quite seriously, but I intimated in a way that they understood what I was talking about, what I was up to. And now it's official. They're so excited. And one of them told me yesterday, because we had a showcase, he says he's already ordered his CD.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, and he said, if you want to, he said they'll probably send you one, but if you want extras, you need to get them now, because they don't keep them, they don't reprint.
Yep. Thank you very much, Robin. That was a real pleasure. That was originally my interview for Vortex, and normally they're completely separate things, but when I was listening back and transcribing it, I just thought, this is such a good, interesting chat, and only about 20% made it into print. And with Robin's blessing, we're able to bring it to you here on the Power of Three.
Excellent. And listeners, another reminder that Kenny edits Vortex or Big Finish free every month. You can read it via the app. If you buy one of the CDs, you get a free copy. We're not sponsored by BF, but we love what they do, and Kenny does a brilliant work. I mean, that's this, Kenny's infinite address book, listeners. Honestly, it's a source of good. Just hope he never turns to evil. Can you imagine, listeners, how Kenny could turn his infinite address book to evil? If you've got any ideas on that, write into the r2podcast@gmail.com and Peter will throw them in the bin.
But I mean, I just think Alixion's one of those names that, and there's something exciting about it because we've known the name, we've known the basic premise. It's something about an elixir.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it. And now we're actually going to get to hear that story made.
Yeah.
Some 55 years after it should have been.
Yeah, and it's great to, it's great. I mean, the Seventh Doctor and Ace, let's be honest, there has been an awful lot of stuff done with them in expanded media. But it's nice to get something else from the era when they were, on TV. It's gonna. I hope it's gonna have that same sort of authentic vibe as the earlier stories that came out in 2011 did.
Most definitely. So there we go. Well, hope you've enjoyed our mild divergences into conventions and lost stories featuring the Seventh Doctor and Ace. And before we go, I would of course like to remind you that you can follow us on social media. We are on @Power of 3Pod with the number 3 on the Twitters. We have a Facebook page where we'll share bonus content, and also we have my Blue Sky page, which is my personal one at Finished Scene. Dave, anything you want to give a plug to?
Yes, as always, I will mention the Earth 2 podcast. Peter and I are finally into 1976, which is very exciting. Only 9 years till Crisis. And as usual, I'll mention my friend Ross, who does Gallifrey's Most Wanted and Stop Let's Team Up. And Ken and I's friend Shag Matthews, who has helped out on this in these parts as well. We couldn't get him for the missing episode, unfortunately, but not to worry. But he'll be back with Kenny soon, before too long. I know for a fact, so that's good. I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, it's good fun, and yes, that'll be in the next few weeks when the book club comes down for a quick break in New Adventures, and then of course the New Adventures will be back. So
excellent.
Get another one of those plans. So Dave.
Yes, Kenny.
Before we go.
Yes.
Do you know any songs with the word elixir in them?
No, but Def Leppard had an amazing song called Animal, which is also the name of one of the earlier Seventh Doctor missing stories. So we could just go with that.
I think we can do that.
That'll do. So, cheers, folks. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Such a lust for